And joining me now from West Palm Beach, Florida, is President Trump's chief trade advisor, Dr. Peter Navarro. Dr. Navarro, welcome to Meet the Press, sir.
Mr. Todd, how are you this morning?
I'm pretty good. Let me start with this. It seems as if the administration wants to have it both ways, telling the Chinese, we're serious about tariffs, these are coming, here's the list, but then telling the public, no, it's a negotiating ploy, it's a negotiating tactic. Which is it?
It's both, Mr. Todd. Basically, what we have here is a situation where every American understands that China is stealing our intellectual property. They're forcing the transfer of our technology when companies go to China. And by doing that, they steal jobs from America, they steal factories from America, and we run an unprecedented $370 billion a year trade deficit in goods. This is an unsustainable situation. What we've done in a very measured way over the course of many months is develop a plan to make the situation significantly better. That plan is being implemented. It includes both tariffs to recover the damages that China inflicts, as well as investment restrictions. We are proceeding in a measured way, and those tariffs will be imposed and those investment restrictions will be imposed. At the same time, there are discussions that are going on with the Chinese, with Ambassador Robert Lighthizer and with Secretary Mnuchin. But we need to understand that we can go back to 2003 when we began to talk about these issues, and talk has not been cheap. It's been very, very expensive for the American people.
How do you expect the Chinese to take the tariff threat seriously if you're publicly saying it's a negotiating tactic and that, you know what, we're not serious about it per se, we want to talk, but you haven't also really made it clear what specific action do you want from the Chinese to prevent these tariffs from being implemented?
I don't believe if you played back what I said just a minute ago, that I said it was a negotiating tactic. It's not. We're listening to the Chinese. We're willing to work with them. This government, through Bush, Obama, and now the courage and vision of Donald Trump, we're willing to listen to the Chinese, but we're clear-eyed about this. We're moving forward on a measured way with tariffs, with investment restrictions. What we want from China, and what we want from China is very clear. We want fair and reciprocal trade. We want them to stop stealing our stuff. We want them to guard intellectual property, not take it from us. And look, in your monologue at the beginning of this, you played a clip from the president. He said we'd already lost the trade war. Well, Bush and Obama, over the course of 16 years, basically stood by while we lost over 70,000 factories, millions of manufacturing jobs, and much of our traditional manufacturing base. What is at stake here, Mr. Todd, is the industries of the future, artificial intelligence, robotics, quantum computing.
I understand.
And what's at stake is not just our economic prosperity, if I may, it's also our national security, because many of these industries of the future have profound military implications.
I understand all that, and I've heard these complaints for years from many of these industries. What is the metric?
But you never saw action.
Let me ask this, though.
And that's the difference
I understand.
here.
Well, that's what I'm at.
What is
the specific action? How will we know that China is changing its behavior? What is it that China, give me the specific action that maybe the president and Xi announced together that will tell the American public the Chinese aren't stealing intellectual property anymore.
Well, let's be, again, clear-eyed about this. It's one thing for the Chinese to commit publicly to a policy. It's another thing for the Chinese to actually implement that policy. We had a number of years ago with President Obama agreements about not stealing our intellectual property through cyber theft. How's that working out? Not very well. I mean, for the American people, and I don't think, Mr. Todd, there's any disagreement between you and I about the fact that China is engaged in these egregious practices. The only debate is over how we go about solving them. But every American understands that every day of the week, China comes into our homes, the businesses, our government agencies, and the damage is on the order of about $1 billion a day. And then when you add to that damage, the $1 billion a day and the trade deficit in goods we face, this country is losing its strength and wealth, even as China has grown its economy from $1 trillion since 2002 to over $12 trillion today.
Dr. Not many people in the Midwest, many Republican lawmakers, including one I'm going to have on in a minute, don't like this tariff policy. Let me put up what Senator Ben Sasse, a Republican from Nebraska, said. Hopefully the president is just blowing off steam again. But if he's even half serious, this is nuts. The president has no actual plan to win right now. He's threatening to light American agriculture on fire. This is the dumbest possible way to do this. What do you say to the criticism you're getting from the Midwestern senators and governors of both sides of the aisle who are panicked about the agricultural industry?
Let me be very, very clear about this. When the president announced the additional $100 billion in tariffs, he also announced that he was directing Sonny Perdue, a great American and the Secretary of Agriculture, to immediately implement a plan to defend American farmers.
Does that mean buying soybean crops? Does that mean buying soybean crops that the Chinese won't buy?
It's up to Sonny Perdue and the president to implement the plan. The details of that plan will be rolled out. But let me say this, Mr. Todd, how cynical it is for the Chinese, basically, rather than respond graciously and stop doing all this bad stuff they're doing, to attack American farmers. I think that's going to be a wake-up call for Americans about just, we've changed now our designation in the national security strategy of China to a strategic competitor. What does that mean? It means that they are in competition with us over economic prosperity and national defense. And this is a competition the president takes very, very seriously.
I want to ask you about what's going on in the West Wing. And simply, does John Kelly still have the president's confidence? A Washington Post story over the weekend says this. Kelly has threatened to resign on multiple occasions. It's sort of a weekly event, one senior White House official quipped, though officials explained his declarations as expressions of momentary frustration. Have you heard of John Kelly threatening to resign, Mr. Navarro? And can you say whether the president still has confidence in him?
Look, every day of his adult life, John Kelly's gotten up in the morning to serve America. He's a great man, a courageous man. He serves the president. He has the president's ear. He runs the West Wing well. That's all I know. That's all I see. What you don't see about him sometimes is the light and humorous side of him. He's actually a pretty funny Irish guy sometimes, but he has the confidence of the president, and he's getting the job done. And when you read stuff in the Washington Post, frankly, that's fake news most of the time.
All right. I think that expression is a pretty unfair thing to say about a major news organization.
Well, not to the Washington Post.
Navarro,
I mean,
look,
that's
a cheap shot.
Mr. Todd, that is not a cheap shot, because if you look at the newspapers that I read every day across the spectrum, the Washington Post, in my judgment, tends to attack the president more than any other newspaper in its news stories. You can do anything you want in your editorial, sir, but you cannot do that in your news stories.
I understand. The term fake news is not exactly a way to hold up the First Amendment, especially when the Russian government just this morning is calling fake using that phrase.
I used to deliver the Washington Post in high school in Bethesda, Chevy Chase, and guess what? That was a good paper back then. It's not right now.
Peter Navarro, I will leave it there. Dr. Navarro, thanks for coming on and sharing your views. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.